Welcome to History with Master Squishies. In today's video, we'll be covering the history of the Pz.III. We'll be going over who made it, the design, what nations used it, some of the battles it took place in, and how it performs in-game. To start off, the Pz.III was the fifth development in the German Pz.III medium tank family. It was produced and designed by Daimler-Benz in 1939 as an improvement to the Pz.III A through D, with the Pz.III reaching a production number of 96. The Pz.III was mainly improved on its armor. The Pz.III A through C had 15mm of armor on all sides, with the top having 10mm and the bottom having 5mm, while the Pz.III E through G having 30mm of armor on the front and sides, 25mm on the lower glacis, and 20mm on the rear. This change in armor was to counter the French 25mm anti-tank gun, which could easily break through the armor of lightly armored German vehicles such as the Panzer II or the SD KFZ 221. This new change would make the Pz.III reliable and effective throughout most of World War II, since it could survive light and medium anti-tank guns at most ranges except close range. The Pz.III variants A through early G would be equipped with a 3.7cm KWK 36 cannon, but originally it was intended to have the 5cm cannon. The reason as to why the Pz.III didn't initially get its 5cm cannon is because the infantry was armed with the 37mm PaK 36 anti-tank gun, and in the interest of standardization, the tanks should be armed with the same. However, the turret ring was made large enough to later accommodate the 5cm cannon, which prolonged the Pz.III's life. The Pz.III was equipped with a single turret, mounted with a 3.7cm KWK 36 cannon and 3 secondary MG34s. It had a maximum of 30mm of armor and a minimum of 5mm of armor. At a crew of 5, a weight of 20 tons, a length of 5.56 meters or 18.3 feet, a width of 2.90 meters or 9.6 feet, a height of 2.5 meters or 8.2 feet, and a max speed of 25 miles per hour on-road and 12 miles per hour off-road. Next, we'll move on to its operational history. The Pz.III was used by Germany in the Western Front. Prior to the invasion of Poland, around 148 Pz.III A through Es would be made and around 98 would be ready for combat operations. In the invasion of Poland, around 87 of the 98 Pz.IIIs would be deployed, with the majority going to the 1st Panzer Division and the rest being issued to other armored units. Within all the Pz.IIIs, only a few Pz.III-Es saw combat. In the invasion of France, France spread their armor among the 22-mile-long front. In comparison, the Germans used their tank divisions to break through the weak points of the French lines. Panzer Is and Panzer IIs would lead the charge at the start of the invasion, and in one case they would capture the village of Hanut. Shortly after its capture, the French would make a counterattack with over 20 Hotchkiss tanks. The French would gain an upper hand against the Panzer Is and Panzer IIs, but once the Panzer IIIs arrived, the situation changed dramatically in favor of the Germans. Around 11 Hotchkiss tanks were lost, mainly to the Panzer III. Later within the same day, the Panzer Group engaged French S-35s. The battle that ensued led to the loss of 4 S-35s, which forced the French to retreat again. Finally, the French line started to crumble, but at the cost of around 160 German tanks. The majority of the loss was Panzer Is and Panzer IIs. However, Germany was able to recover most of their lost tanks and repair or salvage them, whereas the French were unable to. The Pz.IIIs performed well in the Western Front, but were at the disadvantage against the French B-1 bis, with 11 Pz.IIIs being destroyed by a single B-1 bis. There were a few Pz.III-Es that fought in the African campaign, but the number and their involvement is unclear. In the Eastern Front, around 350 3.7cm Pz.III-Es were deployed, but the small 3.7cm cannon would prove ineffective against the T-34 and the KV tanks. Finally, we'll move on to how it performs in War Thunder versus how it performed historically. In War Thunder, the Pz.III is really well done compared to its real-life counterpart, as far as I can tell. The armor is accurate, and the guns are right with the 3.7cm KWK-36 cannon and the 3 secondary MG-34s. The one noticeable issue that I did find is that in-game the max speed is listed at 44 miles per hour. The speed I was able to achieve was 35 miles per hour, but the speed it should be is around 25 miles per hour at most, with 265 horsepower instead of its 300 horsepower. All in all, the Pz.III is really well done, but the speed and engine should be changed if Gaijin wants to be accurate. So with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, squish that like button, subscribe, and leave me a comment on what you want to hear about next. I'll see you in the next one.